Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. So yeah, I apologize about that long break. It was just kind of sudden. I ran into some personal things I needed to deal with, and I couldn't really announce it well into that. But anyway, so we're looking at the 2000 tick chart here on the ES. We're also going to be looking at the 500 tick chart just because I'm going to be explaining price action levels a bit. And also, I am looking to find entries on this chart as well too this morning. So anyway, here's the 2000 tick chart. Now, when we look at this here, we draw our overnight high, which at this point, the overnight high is right around here. The reason I'm not putting it all the way up to those bodies is just to see how it fits with, how price, you can see that there was a wick up to there. And so if price ends up holding on this level here, then that's where it holds. But if it ends up pushing out a bit more, possibly, it could be raised. The overnight high and low levels are about where it's most consistent, not necessarily the absolute high and low. Like you can see here, someone might say, "Oh, isn't the overnight low down here?" Well, look at it here. If you draw it around here, you have a test here, another test, and then price nearly tested it there. It could actually be like that. So you just got to adjust it around. If you're worried about it being a tick off, you really don't got to worry about stuff like that. But anyway, so overall, we have this large measured move in play. Starting from here, we have this spike up, break, another leg up. Now, these legs are pretty clear here, but it can be difficult to see just because there's so much price action in between them. You start from here, you have this first leg up, break, second leg up. And so I'll draw that out. So you can see here, we have this measured move, and when this measured move was met, you can see here, price started making this topping pattern. It made, basically a triple top, not quite a triple top, but nearly, before pushing on lower, made a couple lower highs, and just made another leg down. So we got this first leg down, and then second leg down. And then notice, I have that start of that right off that wick. The very bottom of it is right where that move ends, and we reverse higher. So these measured moves are very important to understand. There are often times where you can enter directly on the measured move. Not every time. There are times when you can't. You have to have good context. You can't just buy every measured move willy-nilly. You have to have good market context to do that, which we'll get into as well. And so anyway, what is market context? Basically just, is price in a position where it's likely to go up or likely to go down? Now look at where price is right now. We'll talk about the current context. So a couple of days ago, we have this downtrend, and then price breaks. When price attempts to make a new low, we have our first attempt lower, and then second attempt lower, failure. That's what gives us this large push higher here. Now, that formed a larger measured move. In this case here, you can see we have this two-legged break essentially from this downtrend. It's very big picture, and it takes back a lot of that move down, but that is still technically what it is. From here, it could make a second leg down. So overall, considering it's reaching this measured move, which is a likely reversal spot just because measured moves are so consistent, this downtrend can also get a second leg at a new low, basically just make a large two-legged move down. And so when we approach this measured move here, we're thinking, okay, so overall context is good, big picture for going short. Now we can, if we push through there, we can get a smaller long and continue higher on a short-term failure. Like if price pushes through and then makes two attempts down, that would be two attempts to reverse after breaking through this measured move here. And if we get two attempts to reverse holding above this level, then we can get long on a failure. And in this case here, it ends up just pushing on higher. These pushes down don't make a retest, and we also don't get a clear two-legged attempt down because it keeps resetting the count here, which is indicating that the bulls are controlling the market. So this measured move was not strong enough to hold prices down. It wasn't strong enough to get the bears to come in, and so the bulls just kind of kept taking off here, unable to really get a good reversal attempt in. And so anyway, just wanted to explain that. That's the overall context here. And so I'm going to go to the 500 tick chart just to explain things, but first I'm going to zoom in here. So overall, this is the uptrend. Just want to show everything here. And then we have this smaller uptrend working higher, and then that pushes us into today. So today opens, we have this measured move that's been met. You can see this is the top of that wick right there. And so we're just seeing how price holds on that level here. And so overall, from today, from the low of today, we have a push up, a break, and 2 attempts at a new high. So uptrend, break, and 2 attempts at a new high. Now that might be a bit hard to see, and you won't be able to really draw it well from here. It starts to overshoot, and so really it made a double bottom right there before pushing higher. And so we have this uptrend, break, 2 legs to a new high. So now it's clear to see now that we draw it, and you can see here we have this first leg up, second leg up, and whenever there's a lot of wick on the top and bottom of these moves, sometimes it'll end up, the measured move will end up acting without the wick. And so you just got to see how price reacts. Neither way is particularly more valid than another. It's just you have to wait and see how price reacts. And so in this case here, price is so bullish. We're not going to be shorting this here, even though it's overshooting the wider channel, and even though it's at this up measured move, we're not going to be shorting this. It's just way too bullish overall. But let's take a look at what we see here on the 500 tick chart. So again, this is the 2000. On the 500 tick chart, we see the same thing, except it looks a lot bigger. We have the uptrend, break, and the 2 attempts at a new high. So we have this first leg up, and then this second leg up. So uptrend played out with a break to a new high. Reversal attempt failed. It failed above that swing, making it a second leg at a new high. And so we could get a retest of the overnight high here. That's actually something I'd really like to see, because overall price is very up. This measured move is still in play, which means we can use that to our advantage to get along on a fade failure. So if we push out, first attempt to fade, second attempt to fade, and then catch along. Let me just draw it out actually. I'd like to see it push up a little bit more first. We could get something from here, but what I don't like is how it basically just made a double top there. And so if we get 2 clear attempts with a good bullish hold, then yeah, we can get along. But I'd like to see confirmation. Like, I wouldn't buy a measured move down to the overnight high right here, because it just made a double top basically. So anyway, one thing I would have liked to see is price just push a little bit. See, it's a bit difficult in this situation. One thing that is common to see is price push above a previous swing and retest it, but by the time that you push above this swing, you're going to reach that measured move. So it's a bit tricky here, but either way, I would have liked to see it push up a bit more, just so that way the legs can be larger on the push down and then get a clear reaction and get long, even though it still would have been basically making that double top. Price is so bullish overall, I wouldn't care, so long as we got a good reaction after the 2 attempts to fade, not before. And so anyway, we just got to see what price does. So this is a competition zone as well, and what I mean by that is there's reasons for the bears and there's reasons for the bulls, both sides to have their reasons. And so for the bulls, they're thinking, okay, so price is in this uptrend, we've been in this uptrend for a long time, and we have this uptrend right here, we're pushing up to a new high, price has been very bullish, and we still have this measured move in play. So the bulls are thinking, we want to reach this measured move. There's still more on the table to push up to this measured move here. However, the bears are thinking at the same exact time, we just broke out of the overnight high. This is a common fade area. This uptrend has just played out. It's no longer in play. It's time for a reversal. And so the bears are thinking this is that first attempt. Now we're getting in on that second attempt. It's retesting that previous swing. A fade of this range right here. So no matter how you argue it, there's good reason for both sides to believe what they believe, but you just have to stick what price is doing in the moment. At a moment's notice. Like, if price stays above here, then I'm looking for longs. If price rushes below here, then I'm immediately looking to catch a fade entry if we have room for one. And what I mean by that is, you can see here, we have to draw these, because as more price forms, it can be easy to forget about drawing larger structures that form, like this range right here. It can be very easy to forget that because overall we're in this range. We have this uptrend going. We have these 2 attempts at a new high. Someone might totally blank that there's a triple bottom right there. And that triple bottom may have had to do with this spike up right here. You see what I'm saying? And so the other thing is this wider trend line. And if we push lower here, we would have plenty of room for a good reversal pattern. We also would need to consider, from here, which we would still be able to get one with room. But the point is, if price is overall so bullish, you don't want to enter at all into these resistance areas. Okay, right? I should say support, really. And so if we push lower here, we can catch a good reversal pattern and look to get short, but we can't enter directly into this, especially given how how bullish it's been. So we just have to stick with what price does in the moment. Since price is more bullish, if we did get a rush below and start forming a failed second entry, I would just want to see a really good setup with a great bearish reaction before entering short. Because you can take smaller picture shorts against the overall trend. If we start reversing on down, then that is a reversal based on the overnight high. And so we have to consider that. But, you do need to consider that overall the trend is up, the trend is your friend, and, I've never said that phrase before in a video, I don't think, but it's true. So the trend is your friend, but if you can catch short-term reversals, you just need to have good context. And overall, the context, we are at that major measured move. It pushed on through, indicating the bulls are winning, but on a good reversal, we can catch a short. And so I just wanted to explain what I'm looking at here. I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself now, but yeah, so overall, this is the context that we're in. Right now I'm looking to catch something on this chart as well, the 500 tick chart. Here's the thing. Yeah, since it's smaller picture, the points, the stop and the target are going to be smaller point wise, but there's going to be more entry opportunities. And, you just got to trade what you're comfortable with. Sometimes people will worry about the time frame, like, am I trading the right time frame? It doesn't matter. It's price action. It's literally the same on all of it. And so it's just not something you got to stress about. You certainly don't got to feel like you got to trade. If you watch someone online or whatever, someone like me, you definitely don't got to feel like you need to trade the exact same time frame chart. Price action, is a fractal within itself infinitely forever. It works the same on every chart. And so I'm not sure if you heard that, pardon that text message. So, just wanted to explain that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I just wanted to give a quick explanation of what's going on here, and also just, I wanted to get a video out because it's been a while. I really did not realize how long it had been. If I were to have been asked how long it's been since I've uploaded, I would have guessed 3 weeks. Turns out it's been 2 months. So, there were just some things, personal issues that were kind of sudden, and I really didn't have time to I just didn't really have time to get into it, but it did require a break for a bit, and yeah, so just wanted to make this video, and I do plan on doing some recording today, of some trades, and just gonna start getting content out again. So I really appreciate you watching this video. I do have the new site that's ready. It's still penguintrades.com, but I had started setting that up because I wanted to start running this membership I wanted to start growing it and making it better and all that, because I had never really put much into it. And then as soon as I start doing that is when I'm not going to really get into it, but the things in my personal life that required a break happened. And so right as I was getting the new site ready and I was getting everything all ramped up and I was excited for it, is right when everything kind of just went dead for a bit. So, I'm definitely happy to be back. And yeah, so I appreciate you watching this, and I'll see y'all later. All right, so you can see here this measured move has been met. Now, it's a two-legged break from this downtrend here, so we faded. This uptrend played out with a break, two clear pushes up to a new high, strong reversal down, and we found some support on this wider channel that we have forming here. And so even though we found support here, it is still a two-legged break. It is still a measured move that's been met. And so we have to, just kind of see what price does, because it's a competition zone. The bears are thinking, oh, okay, let's go short because this measured move has been met. But the bulls are thinking, we're in this uptrend here. So you kind of got to wait for a side to win out in order to not be entering in the middle of a fight. And so if we push lower here, what I'd like to see, I don't mind either direction. If we push up or down, I don't care. But say we do push down, what I'd like to see from there is a break of the trend here. Whenever you get these slight pierces through, like, we're in this uptrend, we push out here, push right back in. It's very likely to be like that. You see what I mean? But I'm going to wait a little bit more to see if we get any reaction to this current level. But anyway, so if we push through here and we get a more significant push through, if we get a couple attempts higher, and it can't get above this, and it can't re-enter this wider channel here, and it holds below the EMA, then we can look to get short and continue with the downtrend that's formed from this reversal, from the uptrend playing out. But if price ends up pushing through this measured move here, then what's that telling us? That's telling us that the trend is winning out over this measured move. The bulls are winning over the bears. And so if that happens, we push up. I'd like to see a couple attempts retesting the overnight high right here. But I just wanted to show this here because it's, price is moving now. And, in this case here, we can't go short right here. We don't want to go short right into this uptrend that clearly just held. And, we just got to wait on something a little better. But just wanted to give a quick update on where price is. And yeah, I'll see you all in a bit. So you can see here, it's kind of making this topping pattern where it's, makes a high, makes another high, just around the same level. And so this is, this is basically the bears and the bulls fighting it out. So the bears are, of course, finding resistance here. They want to push on lower here. The bulls are trying to push on through with this uptrend, and so that's what's creating this chop here. You can see from here, we just had a two-legged move down. And so, with a good hold, we could get another long, but I'd rather see a clear two-legged, because here's the thing. We have a leg down, it's kind of choppy, and then a second leg down, which is really breaking out of this chop right here. So, I'd rather see two clear legs, because this is all one leg on a slightly bigger picture. And considering this new high, because it's like uptrend, break, and then new high, second attempt higher, and then the reversal on down. And so, even though there's this wider trend line right here, it might not hold. It could end up needing another attempt down again because it's so bearish. Even though there's technically two legs, it's just one on a bigger picture right after a double top. So I'm not completely comfortable buying that. So I'm not going to. So we could get something else. Like I said earlier, we could extend this. We'll see how price ends up holding on this wider trend line, which I'm going to adjust the highs to that. And so just going to see how price ends up holding. We could get a couple legs up and then get, that would basically be the separation between two larger legs down. Looks like we're pushing on down now though. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. Looks like price is attempting to make a second entry to the EMA on the way down here. But yeah, so here we'll look at the NQ as well. So on the NQ, it looks like we're starting to go into this reversal pattern kind of thing. So we have this trend line to be concerned about. It's finding resistance right there. So if we could push lower, I kind of wish it did it here. If it had just pushed lower, gone to the side a bit, and also a little bit further down, then we could get a couple legs back, but we can still get something. So this downtrend has a break. When a downtrend gets a break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. Here on the NQ, it's actually broken a lot further out of this wider channel here, and it's retested it a couple times. So if we break this trend line, get a couple legs back, we'll see what kind of reaction we can get, and possibly get a short to ride down to the other side of this range right here, / get in on that move to the new low for this downtrend break. So that's what I'm looking at here on the NQ. And back to the ES, that second entry, it's pushing on lower now. And so, first leg down, couple legs back, and then second leg down. So, again, this downtrend is clearly in play. It has a break. When the downtrend gets a break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. So I'm going to wait on confirmation in a push above before buying. I'm not going to just buy this key entry point. We just extended price to it, so it's not even confirmed yet, really. But yeah, so just again, another update. I'm going to go ahead and pause it here, and I'll give another update soon. Alright, so this larger measured move has just been met. The bulls are clearly winning out at this point, although now another measured move is met, so we're in for another fight. So overall, extremely up. I know I keep saying that, but that's very true. And so if we push up here and get a couple legs back, we could get a retest on top of this measured move level, which can offer us a long and continue with the overall momentum. And so we'll see what the NQ looks like here. Also, the measured move has been met. And, if we get if we push up and get a retest on top, and then we can look to get long, of course. But, with that being said, this is a two-legged break for this downtrend right here. So downtrend, two-legged break, this is where price tends to attempt another leg. And so you just have to see what price is doing in the moment. If we push up, get a couple legs back on a clear retest, then we can continue with the bulls. However, if this acts as a clear resistance level, then that needs to be considered too. If we push below, we could get some kind of failed second entry under the EMA for a short and continue down with the second leg. So just kind of waiting for price to do something here. And yeah, I'll unpause it in a bit. Alright, so we are getting short here on the NQ. I have that at 1.5 at the moment. I'm actually just going for 1. So, alright, so this is all set up good. This is actually about what I was going to be going for. The whole plan was just push this down to here, which this level isn't completely confirmed. This is just about where it found resistance from this swing here. And so we're going for 1-to-1, riding price down to the this range high right here. Now you can see overall we have these little pushes up. Let me draw this out here. Price just held right here on this bounce. However, we have to look at the bigger picture. So even though after this measured move higher, price attempted to reverse down and then found resistance off this high / this trend line right here. But this was a two-legged break from this downtrend right here. So downtrend has a break. When a downtrend gets a break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. And this was our first attempt here. And then here we have our first leg up, second leg up. So this is a two-legged break from this initial push down. So basically like a downtrend break and then expecting a new low, just like we're getting here on a bigger picture. And so that's what that's basically the entry to get in on that second leg down here. So downtrend, two-legged break, first attempt lower, and then we have these two legs back here, basically offering us a continuation to of this push to a new low. And so that's why I don't care about going. It's why I'm not worried about going short right here, right after this bounce here, because on a bigger picture, we're getting a very strong reversal. Great reaction to this measured move right here. Nice strong bearish reaction, pushing on down, attempting that new low, and then we get that opportunity here. And so we just pushed on lower here, as you saw. That was actually a very quick trade. That's for 106 ticks. And yeah, so I'm going to draw out this shorter term measured move. You can see here, overall, we have this large measured move in play. However, we also have this shorter one in play. So, when we reach this one, it could give some kind of correction. Like, like I was saying, when this downtrend breaks here, we have our first attempt lower, and then now we're getting that second attempt lower. Now, on an even bigger picture, this whole leg down is going to be the first, /1 attempt lower. And so downtrend, break, and then first attempt lower, this whole thing, we can get a bigger break and then get a larger second attempt lower. And that's what's likely to happen from this smaller measured move. So just to be clear, when this measured move gets met, I'm not saying this is 100% for sure, it might drop on through here, but generally, whenever you have multiple measured moves in play at the same time, the shorter term measured moves are just markers of basically separation of bigger picture structures. So, again, keeping in mind this measured move level, I'm going to actually just draw out this real quick. So keeping this measured move level in mind right here, I'm going to delete it now and draw it all as one leg, down to there. If price reaches that measured move level, pushes up, great spot for price to correct up, push all the way up to say here, and then make that second leg down in order to reach that larger measured move that we have in play, this one right here. And so I hope what I'm saying is clear here. Understanding that really does help a lot. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and kill the video here, and I'll keep, I might stop it here. I might record if I feel like it later. I guess it just depends on how soon we see another trade. So anyway, this might be it for the video. Might get some more out, but either way, I'll see y'all later. Alright, so I figured I'll show here an example of price action getting bigger in real time and what I mean by that. So you see here this main uptrend that started from yesterday, push up here, we have a break, and we get 2 clear attempts at a new high. Now this is the first attempt, that's the second attempt. At this point, it still hasn't made the new high, but it still could count as a play out. Now if we push lower here, we have to remember, yeah, we're reversing from those 2 attempts at a new high. However, on a bigger picture, price can still make that second leg up. Like if price had pushed all the way down to, here, we would still have the potential to make a new high on an even bigger picture. We would just likely get a much bigger push at a new high or a much bigger failure if it fails to. And so it's all just relative. Now here we get the break. First attempt higher, second attempt higher, and reversal. We get in on that reversal. Now, what happens though? After price takes off here, we have 2 attempts at a new low. Or excuse me, what I meant to say was 2 attempts to reverse. So the uptrend has a break, 2 attempts at a new high. It's met the measured move. It couldn't make the new high, and now we're getting 2 legs back down. Now in this case here, it didn't make a measured 2-legged move down. However, we can still see the clear 2 legs before price reverses on higher here. Now, if price is unable to reverse down from here, then we have to start combining legs. And what I mean by that is, the previous legs leading up to this swing here. So these legs on a bigger picture, since price is unable to continue on down and reach this larger down measured move, we have to combine those legs and see the larger structure that's forming. On a bigger picture, this is 1 leg at a new high. This failed reversal lower is leading to the second bigger leg at a new high. So uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. You see what I'm saying? And so when price is pushing lower here, I already know if price suddenly starts pushing higher here and fails to reverse on down after that attempted play out, then we have to switch gears and look for a bigger picture attempt up. And so if we get a couple legs down, we can look to get long and continue up to reach this measured move. However, if price continues on lower, then we can look to get short on 2 legs higher pullbacks. You see what I'm saying? So you just have to stick with what price is doing in the moment. If you get a sudden rush above, then you have to switch gears to look for longs. If you could have a continuation down, then you have to keep looking for shorts. It's all about what price is doing in the moment. If we get a couple legs down, that can offer us a long. But if we start pushing lower and just keep on dropping, and we don't get any entries for longs, and we just keep on going down, then what that's telling me is now we have this push up here was enough as that second attempt higher in order to make a failure. And so now it might really be played out on a bigger picture. So let me just clarify, because I know that I might have just confused some people. Now that this second leg up has pushed up here around to that double top, that could be enough as a second leg up in order to get a good failure. So you just have to stick with what price is doing in the moment. And yeah, so right now I'm wanting to get a long off of this key entry point right here. So if we get a couple legs down here, then we can look to get long, continue up with the second attempt at a new high that's forming here. But I am willing to switch gears if suddenly this support level stops acting as a support level. If it pushes lower, we could get a couple legs up, and with a good hold below, we could get a short to reach the still active down measured move that's in play. So, just wanted to explain that. I understand it can be confusing at first. It really does get easier with time, spotting larger structures form. Many people, they can't see that there's two legs up there. They just see those two smaller legs, they see the failure, and then they just assume that this uptrend played out with a break and new high, not realizing that it's all one trend on a bigger picture. And so anyway, just wanted to go over that. I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the ES. We'll take a look at that. So on the ES, not nearly as big of a break from the wider uptrend, but we're pushing on up here, and same thing. I haven't been looking at this one as much, but same thing. You combine these legs here. So initially, let me just put this back real quick. Initially, it was like this. We had the first leg up. Excuse me, sorry. These aren't quite perfect now, but we have these two legs up, and then we found some resistance. Price attempted to reverse. However, it failed to reverse, and then it made a second, much larger leg up, which combines both of these legs. In this case here, these legs happen to be in these same exact spots, so you can just kind of draw it however. It doesn't matter if you draw it like this or like that. It's going to get you about the same result. And so now you have this larger picture leg here. And so technically this is still a two-legged break from this downtrend, because this swing high is higher than, so far every swing within these two legs up. Once it breaches this swing here, it's going to be very close to making a double top with that swing anyway. So I just wanted to explain that. So even though right here this downtrend has a break, push to a new low, strong reversal, technically this is still a two-legged break of this downtrend right here. It's just a lot harder to see because it's a lot bigger. It's basically making a W. And so we just got to stick with what price is doing. Right now we're getting a single leg retest of the overnight high, which is not ideal for a long. We want to see two attempts retesting. When you break out of an overnight level, or just a range level for that matter, it's very common to get fades, and if you want to catch a breakout, you want to wait for two fade attempts in order to catch a failure entry. And in this case here, we're just getting one leg down. That's not ideal. Now we could push up again and then get another chance, get two legs down, retesting for a long. But again, that might not happen. It might end up pushing on through, and if it pushes on through, that's telling you this is of course no longer a support level, and so you'll want to catch a reversal pattern, basically a fade down of this overnight range that we're in. And so that's what we're dealing with here. So again, with this breakout, we can definitely see how price ends up reacting to here, because it's very common. That's just, whenever price has these pierces through like this, that's just the channel expanding basically. So alrighty, just wanted to show this here. We're in this uptrend, could get a long so long as we stay above here, but be willing to switch gears at any moment. And yeah. All right, so we're looking at the NQ here. Again, this is on the 1000 tick chart for the NQ. And so this measured move has been met. It's retesting this larger measured move here. Now I'm waiting on a reaction. Now at first we got this good reaction, and if you bought this measured move, then you would have made money. I didn't. I wasn't in the room, but I wouldn't have bought this anyway because let me zoom out here. You see this channel here? So price overshot, overshoots tend to lead to breaks, and this is the two-legged move that's reversing. This is the reversal that we're seeing here. And on this second leg in the reversal, I'm not going to buy it expecting it to just halt, considering this overshoot. Overshoots lead to strong reversals. They lead to strong breaks out of the other side. Even though we're retesting this, and even though we have the overnight low right here, that's not going to tell me to just buy that. There's still very big picture context we have to consider here, which is this overshoot and how it tends to lead to breaks. So, even though there's some things going for a long here, there's still a lot of things going against it too. So we have to be safe. We have to be careful. I want to see a good, clear reversal pattern higher. So if we get a push above and then get a couple legs back, we can get a long. I'd like to see that push through the this blue level here and also the overnight low. That way we just get through both of those levels here. Because if we had pushed up here and then rejected the overnight low and then still got a setup off of here, I wouldn't even want to take it because we had just rejected that level right there. And if we can't get through the overnight low, that's telling you the bears are still winning out, and this overshoot is likely to lead to a much larger push down. And so I'd want to see it push all the way through and then get a couple legs back. And so I just wanted to explain what I'm looking at here. I'm probably not going to record much longer. So over on the here, this is the smaller chart, which by the way, I'm again, like I said from the other part too, I missed this right here. I was not in the room, and unlike the other thing I pointed out here, I would not have bought in that there. This right here, since I wasn't there to take it in the moment, I'm not going to say I would have taken it, but I believe I would have taken it, because it's a great looking setup here. We have these two legs up here, so uptrend, break, and by the way, just for anyone, just so you know, on the NQ, the smaller chart here, this is a 250 tick chart. I think I forgot to mention that earlier. So we have this uptrend, break, first attempt higher, and then second attempt higher. The second attempt doesn't quite reach that measured move. However, it's still very clearly the second leg higher. It's finding resistance at this swing right here. And so we push up. You can see that the smaller uptrend within this leg here, right here, has a break and a new high before reversing. And that goes straight into a failed second entry reversal pattern. Notice here we have this first leg up, break, drag that arrow over. You got your second leg up, measured move met, immediately reverses on down. Now I stepped out of the room for a bit. I was actually having a very late breakfast, and when I returned, this had already set up and gone by and dropped on down. But this is a great area for a reversal. The uptrend has two larger attempts at a new high. It's very similar to what we got here. Okay, it's kind of like a repeat pattern on a bigger picture of what this trade was. So just to re-explain this earlier trade, the uptrend had a break, two attempts at a new high, and then it pushed into a reversal pattern. Then that reversal made another leg down. So now we have two legs down, and that pushed us into basically a reversal failure, and it makes a bigger picture attempt at a new high. And then now we get a very similar deal here. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher, and then second attempt higher, and then that pushes into a reversal pattern. So I really like both of these right here. I'm glad I caught this one. Unfortunately, this one just, I just wasn't even in the room. So, that is what happens when you don't eat breakfast on time and then you eat later in the day. But anyway, so we push on lower here. We can see it's a very strong failure after making that new swing high right there. We just rush on down, makes the reversal pattern. It fades this range right here, makes another reversal pattern. It's not as clear here because it's, you know, one leg on a slightly bigger picture, but you fade, you get two legs back. That's essentially a failed second entry, you know, a leg down, a couple legs back, first entry long, and then tiny second entry long failure. Again, this is too thin. It's definitely not worth taking in my opinion. I would want to see a much clearer separation of these legs. You know, it's just too much like it's too much like its own one trend right here. Like for me, this right here is a leg that I would want to see. Like if we had pushed even lower, we could have gotten two of these legs up right here, retesting the range high right here for a short. So I hope that's clear. And then here we push on lower here, so the downtrend has a break, push to a new low, it's considered played out, and then we get two attempts to reverse. So first attempt to reverse, second attempt, you know, let me draw this how it was at the time. It's breaking out of this channel right here. So it's really just not perfect. So this downtrend just played out, so the bulls are likely to come in. This measured move is still in play right here. And, you know, even though there is some resistance right there, I honestly would not bet on that reaching the other side. It looks too risky. The chances of it ticking lower here and then making a failed second entry basically off of this green line and then continuing higher is just, the chance of that is too high. And so it could have easily ticked lower there and stopped you out. You know, again, this downtrend just played out. It's actively making the reversal attempt. The up measured move is still in play. And then even, you know, when you extend it, say, to this swing here, it immediately breaks once again. So really the bears are just not in the market as far as we can see at this point enough to enter. You know, you're basically just shorting at the low right after this trend played out. However, it does end up taking off. As you can see, it really shot down from there. But it just wasn't worth entering, in my opinion. And I'm going to re-extend this. So we have these highs here. They're fitting very well. We have these lows going down here. And let me just kind of adjust some stuff here, unclutter a bit. So at first we had this leg down, and then we had this leg down. Notice right when that measured move got met at this range low right here, it's in the same area, we got a reversal attempt. Now I just extended the channel to here, and so, you know, at this point it's pretty clear that it's, you know, going right towards a channel line. But it's still a good spot for a reversal pattern. You can actually take them inside of these wider channels so long as you have room. You know, we wouldn't have much room for it. I believe we technically could have gotten something. There could have been enough room for that to set up, but it doesn't matter. That's not what happened. So we push on up here. Good place to catch a reversal pattern if it happens, but in this case here, it just went straight to the trend line and then pushed on down, and now we're getting another two-legged move down. And it looks like we got something here. We got these two legs back. I actually, again, didn't even notice this happen. I just was away and decided to make this outro, and then now I'm seeing this here. So at this point here, we would already have the channel just like that. You have your first leg up and your second leg up, and yeah, I mean, as price starts pushing up here, that's when you'd have this trend line drawn off this swing. That's when you would draw it. As soon as it starts pushing up here, you'd have this channel here, reaches that high, and then starts pushing lower. This is a great place. If price pushes lower, it's common to see a small failed second entry to continue with the trend, because right here, we basically just broke out of the overnight low, which this is the overnight low, by the way. And at first we had this small breakout, push back in. That was very insignificant. This is our first real breakout, first attempt to fade, second attempt to fade. Now, if you get two fade attempts and you get a good reaction, then you can look to continue with the direction of the trend. So when price breaks out of an overnight level, you know, like this here, it's very common for price to just fade on back in and go straight to the other side, especially if it's at the end of a trend play out. Now here in this case, you see we get these two attempts to fade. Now, like I said, I wasn't in the room for this right here, which keeps happening to me for some reason, but I wasn't in the room for this trade here. However, I still wouldn't have entered it anyway. I wouldn't have entered it anyway because, again, this downtrend just played out. There's a lot of good reason to fade here. So I would not enter this as a measured move trade. I wouldn't just go short because it's reaching the measured move. I would want to wait on a push below, more confirmation, get a couple legs back, and catch a small failed second entry to continue on down. But in this case here, it doesn't happen. It just pushes on lower here, and then we get to where we are. And yeah, so just wanted to get this review out, and record some trading. And, again, sorry I was gone for so long. I just, it's really just, there were just some personal things that, that went on family-wise. And anyway, so now I'm back again, and yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to go over to the ES real quick because I have not really been looking at that as much today. This is, again, the 500 tick. And yeah, so I've been looking at this, as of lately, just on the smaller time frame charts, just because there are a lot of smaller opportunities. I remember when the 2000 tick chart used to look like this, but not as of lately. But there's price action works on all levels. You just got to find the time frame that is for you. You got to find the one that is just comfortable to trade in. If some people, they can't even, they don't like to trade intraday. If you want to take swing trades, price action, you can do that too. But I do like being in and out. A very long time ago, I used to scalp for 1 point. I stopped doing that. It was just, I'm not knocking that at all. That's, if you can do that, that's amazing. But I stopped the 1 point scalping just because the risk was so much bigger than the reward, and for me personally was not sustainable. So I needed to figure something else out, which is when I started looking at price on a bigger picture. People have asked me where have I learned that from. I didn't learn it from anyone. I've learned it myself. But yeah, so the new site is out. It's the URL is the same, penguintrades.com, but it's a new website. Apparently there's every now and then there's some issues with blog access, but from what I can tell, it's just a cache issue that's been solved. But yeah, if you have any issues with that, you can just make a post and I'll fix it. But yeah, I believe that's all good now. So what I'm doing on the new site is I'm not doing everything I used to do. I used to do pre-market posts and then another post during the session and keep y'all updated and everything. But just with time and having run this membership for a few years now, I think 3 years or over 2 years now, maybe 3, I don't even know. I've done it like that for a long time, but at the end of the day, this, really my own trading is the most important thing to me, not running the membership. The membership is important, and as of lately, I've been wanting to really grow it and get it big, like I was mentioning earlier in the video. And then right as I started doing that is when, life stuff sidetracks you, and then I had to deal with that and then put this all to the side. But so I really am looking to grow the membership and turn it into more of a business kind of thing. Which I've never done before. I've never really put much into the site. It's, basically, the first month of membership was the most members that were ever in it, and then it's just gone down every month since. It's not that I'm not complaining, I don't care. It's just I've never put any real effort into it, and I think now is about time, and now that I have the personal stuff dealt with and I'm back to this, I can do that now. So, yeah, so now what I'm doing on the new site, I kind of got sidetracked from what I was explaining about the site. I used to do the posts, the pre-market posts, the mid-session posts, and and before that I used to do the hourly posts. But, just with time, I've kind of not been wanting to do that. I'm sort of setting up the membership in a way that I can see myself doing it forever. And so now it's just like blogs. At the end of the day, I am writing just a recap of the day, maybe ES and NQ, maybe just one or the other, just kind of whatever I feel like. Like you're not guaranteed like a ton of stuff every day. I only guarantee 3 a week, but I am doing them. This week I plan to do them every day. And so, it's just like blogs. It's kind of like, if you remember the old EOD posts, if you were signed up for that, it's like that, but, more photos and like, like literally like a blog, like multiple paragraphs and all that stuff. So, that's what I'm kind of doing now. I like to do it. It's just like a quick recap for myself at the end of the day. You type some stuff up. And yeah, so I really like it. The community features are also really cool. The forum. And yeah, so anyway, just wanted to make this video and get this out and, kind of just, anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I am going to get it uploaded probably around 2 or something today. But yeah, have a great day, everybody.